The interesting thing to me is there was a world that we all lived in very comfortably not long ago. I mean, today, even really, where there was one truth, and that is deterministic IDFA matching based attribution, last touch attribution. When that world ceases to exist pretty suddenly, as of the iOS 14 privacy update early next year, whatever that means exactly, we kind of shift to a world where I'm not sure if there is a single truth anymore when it comes to marketing measurement. Do you see marketers maybe shifting to this world where there are a few signals? SK Ad Network, maybe Google's answer to that when they follow suit, where there's, due to the fact they're trying to, at their core, protect user privacy, they're pretty incomplete signals. But you mentioned your first big decision here is, as a marketer, do you implement SKAD network, or do you not worry about it at all? I kind of think you kind of have to, right? It is one signal, right? And every major player in the ecosystem is moving in that direction because they're almost forced to as well. So as a marketer, it almost seems to me that you're kind of forced to at least support that too, use it for what it is. And then, I mean, do you see a world in which we have this SKI network signal ingested by, let's say, an MMP or some other dashboard, and then maybe one or two even other signals layered over top, or maybe you could actually think of it as next to, side by side with that SKI network signal in some sort of a dashboard that we don't think of today because we only have a single source of truth, where you're looking at several signals for the same exact data, and you have a single dashboard where you're able to kind of switch back and forth, compare. Does that sort of a vision of the pretty near-term future make sense to you? Is that what you see?
You're exactly right. As marketers going forward, we have to be thinking about a world where there are multiple different signals, and sometimes those signals might conflict. So our job in some ways becomes a little bit harder, because we do need to be, again, rather than just having a single point of source of truth and kind of following that, we now have to use judgment and use experience to take multiple different inputs and decide which one is likely to be most accurate. And again, it's probably a directional guide versus a hard and fast rule that we're following. But I think, again, it just reflects the fact that we'll be working in a more uncertain world. And again, I think I just have a fundamental point that I think I guess it's kind of a philosophical view, is that more data, generally speaking, is better than less data. More signals, generally speaking, are better than less signals. And so it's really a question of how do we interpret and use a set of different signals, especially if they may be conflicting, again, as I'm sure that they will be at certain points in time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think, I mean, specifically with SKAD network, I think the way it's been designed out of the box, it is a signal. I mean, without being rude to Apple, I know some people and I appreciate their work, but I will say I don't think it's a particularly useful signal out of the gate.
Yeah.
But I also think that it's something you can't ignore. So I think it has to be a tool in the toolbox.
Agreed. Yeah. How can you ignore it, right? It's literally Apple's own attribution solution. So yeah, it's almost impossible to ignore. And honestly, over time, the industry has kind of reacted in a way that I think many of us expected in the beginning, where they've adopted SKI network. The MMPs have been forced to almost become SKI network aggregators. Really, that's a lot of the value they actually put forth now. So yeah, you almost have to get that solution inside that toolkit, like you mentioned, because the industry is moving there, whether you like it or not. And then how do you meaningfully add more signals to your marketing decision-making process? That's going to be a very interesting question as we move forward.